revealed to you now could change everything you believe about the future. A shocking truth was written centuries ago, yet few can see it. The prophecy is clear. A global ruler is about to emerge, and he will not come as you imagine. The world is being prepared for something terrifying. But where will this leader come from? How will he deceive billions of people? The signs are everywhere, but most are blind to them. Stay until the end, because today you will discover the shocking truth. Where did the Antichrist come from? The prophecy has already been revealed, and it may be unfolding right now. What if I told you that the world is trapped, about to witness the greatest deception of all time? An event so impactful that it was prophesied thousands of years ago and is now unfolding right before our eyes. Most people are distracted, living as if everything were mere coincidence, unaware that the pieces of this great puzzle are already falling into place. But what if the Bible had already predicted who will be the leader that will dominate the world? Where will he emerge from? And more importantly, how will he deceive billions of people? The prophecy speaks of a global ruler, someone who will be hailed as the only hope in times of crisis. A leader who will rise as the best of men, bringing solutions, peace, and unity. But there is a detail that few are noticing. This figure is already being prepared behind the scenes. He will not appear out of nowhere. He will come from a specific place, from an already existing system, with a plan already laid out. And all of this is directly connected to historical events and nations that are now at the center of world power. The book of Daniel and the book of Revelation not only reveal the place from which this leader will come, but also warn of the signs that will precede his arrival. Are you ready to discover the truth that few dare to speak about? Get ready, because what you see in this video may completely change the way you see the modern world. Since ancient times, the Bible has been a book of mysteries and revelations that transcend centuries, and one of the most striking prophecies revolves around the arrival of the Antichrist. The sacred texts warn that in the end times, a global ruler will arise, someone who will gain power through a seductive discourse, offering both peace and threats, yet secretly harboring dark desires. Just like Nebuchadnezzar, who ruled the Babylonian Empire and drew in a mighty kingdom, this future leader will rise to deceive the nations, bringing with him the era of the New World Order. Scholars of biblical prophecy analyze texts from the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation, where they find clues about this great deception. The Antichrist will not act alone. He will have a powerful ally, the false prophet, who will use signs and miracles to convince the masses to follow him and accept the dreaded mark of the beast. According to many interpretations, this mark will not only be a symbol but also a means of political and religious control over humanity. Those who refuse to accept it will be excluded from the global system, unable to buy, sell, or even exist within the new order. History shows us that great empires have risen and fallen, but prophecy points to a final rebirth of Babylon, a power structure that will bring together Europe and Germany in a new global alliance. Is history repeating itself? Are we getting closer to this scenario? The pieces seem to be coming together, and the signs around us could be revealing. The prophecy of Revelation warns us about two figures who will dominate the world in the last days: the beast and the false prophet. While the Antichrist assumes the role of a global ruler, controlling kingdoms and nations with political and religious power, the false prophet will be his great ally, responsible for convincing the masses through miracles and signs. Together, they will form an unprecedented structure of control, demanding total submission from humanity. And the proof of this submission? The mark of the beast, a symbol of loyalty that will determine who can participate in the system and who will be cast out. But how does this fit into what we are already experiencing today? The world is becoming increasingly dependent on global systems, whether in the economy, technology, or international laws. The push for European unification and the creation of powerful blocs point toward what could be this future domination. Looking at history, we see that Babylon, under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar, also sought absolute domination, demanding that everyone worship his golden statue. However, just as there was resistance in those times, there will also be resistance in the final days. But at what cost? The great question is, how close are we to this scenario? Are there clear signs in world events pointing to this prophetic turning point? The book of Daniel and the book of Revelation offer glimpses of what is to come, but those who ignore these warnings risk being caught off guard. After all, the pieces are falling into place, and the next step may soon be revealed. In biblical history, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, was one of the most powerful rulers of his time, known for his ambition to dominate all the nations around him. His empire was a reflection of what a global ruler could be, an absolute imposing leader who accepted no opposition. He ordered the construction of a golden statue and instituted a tradition in which everyone was to worship it, a clear symbol of political and religious control. But what if this were a reflection of what is about to happen? What if the world is heading toward a new kind of Babylon, where devotion will no longer be to a statue but to a system that will demand total loyalty? The book of Daniel reveals that Nebuchadnezzar had an enigmatic dream about a great statue made of different metals, representing empires that would rise and fall throughout history. Interestingly, the golden head symbolized Babylon itself, but at the end of the vision, a stone cut without human hands destroyed the entire structure. This prophecy still echoes today, as many believe we are approaching the final stage of this statue, a new global alliance that may be emerging in Europe, specifically in Germany, where Helmut Kohl played a fundamental role in European unification. If ancient Babylon represented a physical empire, the new Babylon may be something even deeper, a global system that will demand absolute obedience. Many see the rise of digital control, the imposition of new financial rules, and the advancement of the New World Order as signs that something monumental is about to unfold. The big question remains, will we witness, with our own eyes, the rise of this prophesied empire? The book of Daniel presents an intriguing prophecy about a period known as 7 times, which had a profound impact on Babylon's history and continues to puzzle scholars today. In Daniel 4, Nebuchadnezzar, the mighty king, receives a divine warning. Because of his arrogance, he would be removed from his throne and live like a wild animal for 7 times. This period of exile represents more than just the humiliation of the king. It symbolizes a prophetic cycle that some interpret as a count of years, resulting in the number 2520, a hidden code that could reveal future events linked to the global ruler of the end times. But what does this number mean for today? Many scholars believe this prophecy is not limited to Nebuchadnezzar's punishment, but points to something much greater, the fall and rebirth of a prophetic empire. If we consider the fall of Babylon in 539 BC and apply the 2520 prophetic years, we arrive at a highly significant period in modern history, 1982. Interestingly, this was the year Helmut Kohl came to power in Germany without being directly elected, becoming a key figure in Europe's restructuring. Coincidence, or a direct fulfillment of prophecy? The prophecy of Daniel teaches us that nothing happens by chance. The past and the future are connected by patterns that God has revealed to those with eyes to see. If these calculations are correct, we may be living in the period when this new Babylon is beginning to take shape, preparing the way for the arrival of the Antichrist. Are the global events we see today the first signs of this transition? History teaches us that no empire lasts forever, and Babylon was no exception. In 539 BC, the seemingly indestructible kingdom fell to the Persians, led by Cyrus the Great. What was once an absolute symbol of power and domination became just a chapter in ancient history. But according to biblical prophecy, Babylon's fall was not the end. It would return in the future, in an even more sophisticated and global form. And what if this prophecy is connected to the modern world? What if a new empire is rising, structured on the same principles of dominance and absolute control? Now, let's connect the dots. If we take the year of Babylon's fall, 539 BC, and apply the prophetic count of 2,520 years, we arrive at 1982. That year marked a crucial political event, the rise of Helmut Kohl as Germany's chancellor, without a direct election, taking on a strategic role in Europe's restructuring. Interestingly, Germany, once at the center of major global transformations, became the driving force behind European unification, consolidating a new model of leadership. Could this be a new manifestation of the Babylon prophesied in the Bible? The signs are increasingly evident. The prophecy suggests that this new Babylon will not just be a physical empire, but a global governance system that will demand total submission. And what if this structure is already in place behind the scenes? With governments becoming more centralized and technologies controlling every aspect of life, the stage is set for the emergence of a global ruler. But what comes next could be even more shocking. Germany has always played a central role in major historical transformations. From the Holy Roman Empire to the World Wars, The country has been at the heart of events that have shaped the fate of Europe and the world. But what many fail to see is that there is a prophetic pattern behind it all. When Helmut Kohl took office as Chancellor on October 1st, 1982, without a direct election, he didn't just lead Germany, he initiated a new era of global influence. For those who study biblical prophecies, this event may have marked the rebirth of Babylon, a system that will control the world in the last days. The Bible often uses Babylon as a symbol of a global power that turns against divine principles. And what if the prophecy points to a new form of domination, one no longer based on armies and military conquests, but rather on a political and economic system capable of controlling all humanity? Since 1982, Germany has become the most powerful nation in Europe, dictating the terms of European unification, forming strategic alliances, and expanding its influence year after year. This central role on the global stage is not mere coincidence. It perfectly aligns with the prophetic signs. If ancient Babylon fell to make way for new empires, could we now be witnessing its rise once again? The prophecies of Daniel and Revelation suggest that a global ruler will emerge from this system, using political and religious power to unite the nations under a single rule. And given its history and influence, Germany may be a key piece in this plan. But what will be the next step in this prophetic scenario? The European unification was not an isolated event, but a meticulously planned process over the decades. The creation of the European Union, EU, transformed the continent, establishing a system that, in many ways, resembles the structure of an empire. And who was at the center of this transformation? Helmut Kohl, the German leader who played a key role in consolidating this bloc. Interestingly, the Bible had already warned about the rise of a global system that would hold both political and religious power, a new version of Babylon, capable of influencing all nations. The prophecy of Daniel describes a diminished kingdom, represented by the feet of the great statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, a mixture of iron and clay. Many scholars believe this image could represent the European Union itself, a bloc made up of both strong and weak nations, united by common interests, but never truly effective. The EU has brought economic investments and global influence, but at the same time, it has created a bureaucratic structure capable of financially and politically controlling millions of people. Could this be the seed of the final empire described in the Bible? With the increasing centralization of power and the search for a global leader to govern this bloc with authority, the prophetic signs seem to be aligning. The Bible teaches that history repeats itself, and those who ignore the patterns of the past run the risk of being caught off guard. But what happens when a nation gains enough influence to shape not just the economy, but also global culture and politics? The next events may bring even more surprising answers. Since 1982, Germany has emerged as the dominant force in Europe, playing a crucial role in the economy, politics, and strategic decisions of the continent. After German reunification, led by Helmut Kohl, the country not only strengthened itself internally, but also began dictating the pace of the European Union. Biblical prophecy suggests that, in the end times, a nation will play a central role in the formation of the New World Order, creating a system of political and religious control. With an influential government and a solid economy, Germany seems to be perfectly positioned in this role. The Book of Daniel and Revelation speak of the rebirth of a modern Babylon, an empire that will use its power to control the world. Today, Germany leads not just Europe's economy, but also the creation of policies that impact multiple nations. Looking at the past, the ancient Babylonian Empire, under Nebuchadnezzar, sought to unify and control everything around it, a striking parallel to what we see today. But could this growing influence be paving the way for a supreme leader, a world ruler who will emerge in this scenario? Global events point to an increase in power centralization, with increasingly strict measures being imposed in the name of stability and security. The Bible warns of a time when humanity will be subjected to a global system, led by a ruler who will demand total loyalty. And what if this leader is already waiting behind the scenes for the right moment to reveal himself? What will happen when the world becomes fully dependent on this system? The Bible warns that in the end times, a global ruler will emerge to take control of the world. This leader will not appear as a brutal dictator from the start, but rather as a charismatic figure who will offer solutions to global crises and promise a more united world. He will be seen as the best alternative to resolve conflicts, stabilize the economy, and ensure peace. But behind this facade, he will be the Antichrist, a figure who, according to biblical prophecy, will deceive nations and demand absolute devotion. Many believe that this leader will rise in Europe, and not by coincidence. The European Union has already established itself as a global power bloc, and Germany, historically, has always been at the center of political and social transformations. Just as Nebuchadnezzar used his power to dominate the Babylonian Empire, the Antichrist could use this modern structure to impose his rules. The book of Daniel and Revelation mention clear signs of his arrival, including the establishment of a unified economic and political system, something that is already becoming a reality in today's world. What's even more concerning is that this leader will be accompanied by a strategic ally, the false prophet, who will use miracles and signs to convince the masses that he is the chosen one. And once everyone falls under his influence, the mark of the beast will be imposed, a symbol of total submission to the system. Those who refuse to accept it will be excluded, unable to buy, sell, or even exist within this new order. The big question is the world already prepared for this moment? The next events may be crucial. Biblical prophecies were not just written to describe future events, but also to serve as a warning to those willing to see the truth. The book of Daniel and Revelation show that the world is heading toward an era of global rule, where a supreme leader will demand total submission. But the Bible also warns that many false prophets will appear, people who will use miracles and signs to deceive humanity into following a path of no return. The danger lies in the seduction of this system. It will appear to be the best solution, a logical alternative for a chaotic world. The question that few people ask is, how can we distinguish truth from manipulation? The answer is found in the scriptures. God has always made it clear that those who study his word will have the discernment to recognize the deceptions of the end times. The mark of the beast and global control will not be imposed overnight. They will be gradually introduced, disguised as progress, security, and convenience. This is why understanding biblical prophecy is not just a matter of curiosity, but of spiritual survival. We are living in times where truth is becoming increasingly harder to find. The rebirth of Babylon, the centralization of power in Europe, and the rise of an absolute control system are signs that cannot be ignored. The challenge now is, are you prepared for what's coming? Those who have eyes to see will see. Those who have ears to hear will hear. Time is running out, and those who are not paying attention may be caught by surprise. Now that you know the signs and prophecies about the coming of the Antichrist, the big question is, what will you do with this information? Will you ignore it and continue living as if nothing is happening? Or will you seek to understand even more about the plans that are already unfolding in the world? If this content opened your eyes, don't keep this information to yourself. Share this video, because the more people wake up, the weaker global manipulation becomes. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because this is just the beginning of a series of revelations that you need to know. After all, the truth may be shocking, but it is the truth that sets us free.